Coming from CNBC, SpaceX dives 12% after AI spending surge rattles investors. That is right, the SpaceX stock is crashing. It is a complete and utter disaster out of SpaceX's first earnings call that happened last night. So they had their earnings call after the markets had closed. And so after the markets had closed, basically the earnings call came out. The investors looked at the disaster of what SpaceX is, and they started selling their shares after the markets had closed, and so that's why they are down by 12%. And that's a hell of a story, right? You hear that story, and you're like, wow, this is the kind of thing that Eli, the computer guy's been talking about. The problem is, and this is one of the big things to be thinking about with this whole SpaceX, whatever the fuck SpaceX is at this point in time, is it is a bit of a Rorschach test. Like, one of the things I'm really noticing when people talk about SpaceX is it has almost nothing to do with SpaceX. It has nothing to do with AI, like whether AI data centers in space make a damn bit of sense. It has nothing to do with the revenue of space launch capacity. It has nothing to do with Twitter ad revenue. It all has to do with, do you believe Elon Musk is going to take us to the future or not? And so what I think is kind of interesting, right? And this is in CNBC talking about this, is when you look at the price of the stock, remember, it's all, whether the price is good or bad is completely based off of this perspective, where you're looking at the price from. So if you purchased SpaceX at their all-time high of $225 a share, currently the price is horrible, right? The issue, though, is the all-time low was $104 a share. So if we're looking at the price of from $104 a share, the price is actually pretty good, right? Right at this point in time, you probably got a 20% gain. And so I think that's one of the things to think about with SpaceX, like as we go forward, is so little of this has a damn thing to do with the technology. You know, I talk about this with, I do these interviews with Isaac Pound once a week. And that was the thing, like a week or two ago, man, he was just like drilling me on like these valuations or whatever. What do you think about the value of this? What do you think about the value of that? I'm like, dude, this has nothing to do with technology. This has nothing to do with technology. This barely has anything to do with business anymore. This is, I don't know what the hell this is. And why this is important as I start musing on this is, again, like you look at this, right? CNBC dives 12%. Well, the curious thing, right? If you go and take a look at the SpaceX stock, we'll see it closed last night at $125 a share. And so when it closed at $125 a share, and then this is where they say it tanked by 12%, so got all the way down to about $114.99 at its low after market trading. So that's what they're talking about with the dropping of the 12%. But the important thing to understand is that the all-time low was $104 a share. Now you might be sitting there going, well Eli, why do you keep talking about the all-time low? What does that have to do with anything? And what it has to do with anything is if we go to this chart, we just go to 5 days. We just go to 5 days. What we can see is right here, so August 3rd at 9:30 in the morning, that's where it was at $106 a share. So probably it was somewhere in here that it went down to $104 a share. So one of the things you can see is actually from August 3rd until they closed yesterday, the stock actually went up by a massive amount, probably about 20%. So here's the thing, like when you look at this story of SpaceX, is the story of SpaceX that people regained their belief in what Elon Musk is doing and that the stock shot up by 20%? Is that the story of SpaceX? Or is the story of SpaceX, it was at $125 a share, and then it plummeted to $115 a share, so people have lost faith in SpaceX? Or is the story, they shot up to $125 a share, and it was a market correction, that people haven't lost faith in SpaceX, but maybe they thought it went up too fast, and so it's called a market correction, where like they take a little bit off, but not too much off. Right, and that's the thing. You can literally say any of these three stories with a complete straight face, And more or less, the stories are true. And so this is going to be the curious thing going forward with SpaceX. Is just trying to figure out what the reality is, right? So one of the big things, like with SpaceX, as they're talking about it, is that the revenue has shot up. The revenue was up by a significant amount. But one of the curious things is one of the reasons that the revenue was up by a significant amount is because they're renting out data center capacity to their competitors. Right, so we talked about this. I think it's Colossus One. So Colossus One, they're renting out something like 240,000 GPUs to Anthropic. They're renting out something like 120,000 GPUs to Google. They're renting out like another 40 or 60,000 GPUs to this startup company. And so that all came about in Q2 of this year. So that was part of the earnings call. And so here's the thing. So does that show the viability of SpaceX being able to rent out their infrastructure capacity in order to bring revenue into the company? Right, that is a story. That is a story. Or is it the fact that they're such abject failures at deploying Grok, and the fact that nobody really gives a shit about Grok means they have a massive amount of excess, some would say dark, GPUs that they had nothing better to do with, and so they rented it out, and that gave them a boost to their revenue, right? But both of those stories can be true. One of the other interesting things too, again, what I get concerned with the Trump administration, and the Trump administration getting so in bed with the companies in the United States. And well, to be clear, they're not getting in bed with American companies. They're getting in bed with specific American companies. But anyways, like one of the concerns is Space Force just closed a couple of contracts with SpaceX to the tune of a number of billions of dollars. And so that's one of the questions that comes up too, right? Is the story that SpaceX is closing these deals for launch capacity, which shows the value of the launch capacity and that the value is going up? Or is the story essentially collusion with the Trump administration to try to put their thumbs on the scales of revenue? What's the answer? Parasocial Daddy is tired. Parasocial Daddy is, I don't know, dude. I'm not. Oh man, I am not here to give you answers. I'm just here to give you ways of looking at how the world actually works. So yeah. I don't know. Is SpaceX soaring? Is SpaceX crashing? You know what's going to be in my clickbait title. And to be clear, does this have anything to do with the actual value of the stock price? No. It has everything to do with getting motherfuckers to click on this video. What? I'm just honest about it. Oh, Lordy. What do you think about this with SpaceX? Have you actually taken a look at it? Oh, they're talking about the things like Twitter revenue. And again, that's going to be the interesting thing with the narrative of Elon Musk, is when does the narrative of Elon Musk fail, right? So they're now able to break, or we are now able to see Twitter revenue. And so Twitter revenue is up. Twitter revenue is up by the quarter, right? It was something like, don't quote me on this, it was something like $360 billion or $360 million in revenue for first quarter or something, and now it's up to like $405 million in revenue for the second quarter. So Twitter's revenue is up. But then when you compare that to before Elon Musk took Twitter private, they were making over $1 billion per quarter. Remember, back in the day before Elon Musk took it private, the problem with Twitter is that they were earning $5 billion a year. The issue was that they were spending $5.5 billion. So now what we're seeing is it looks like he may have cut revenue damn near in quarter for that company, which is just not a good sign. Not a good sign. I do also think about this like with reputation. So right now I'm at the AI4 conference, and I'm being a little snarky. You might be surprised. I'm being a little snarky, and while I'm here doing these little shorts, I'm trying to get into the short game. Apparently that's how you become really successful on YouTube in 2026. Anyways, what I think is funny, I'm doing like these series of videos, just fucking with Tesla, right? Because there's a Tesla booth here. So there's a Tesla booth, and you can go to the Tesla booth, and you can see a Cybertruck, and you can see a Cybercat. So I have seen a robotaxi or Cybertaxi. It is sitting there. I have seen it. I have seen it sit there. But like one of the funny things is they have an Optimus robot. Wow, Eli, what do you think about the Optimus robot? I shit you not, this fucker is bolted to the floor. Are you serious? Like, people are like, is somebody in spandex in it? Like, man, I almost wish there was somebody in spandex in it. No, like the thing is just like there. It's fucking it's bolted to a frame. And the funny part is, while Optimus is at the AI4 conference, bolted to a frame, then there are a couple of other humanoid robot companies here, and they have their humanoid robots doing all of their demonstrations, doing dances, walking around, doing all of that kind of stuff, right? Again, like one of the short videos is Tesla versus the competition. And it is like, it's like, wow. Right, and the next video I'm going to do, I have to get the short video for it. Is funny. So I'm here like in Las Vegas, and one of the interesting things is these Zooks are everywhere, and I actually like the idea of Zooks. So if you haven't seen Zooks, Zooks is a company. It's either owned by Amazon or it's funded by a major amount by Amazon. And it's these autonomous cars. Basically, they're autonomous like blocks on wheels, which I think is a good design decision. And the funny thing is, like every time I step outside the hotel, they are fucking everywhere here. You look on the strip, and the Zooks are just zipping on by. And one of the videos I'm going to do is I'm going to do like Cybercab versus the competition, and it's going to be like Cybercab's full self-driving, as it just fucking sits there on the cement. And then I have a video last night of literally on the strip, two Zooks at one time zipping down the Las Vegas strip. And I think that's going to be the interesting thing with SpaceX and all this going forward, is that whole question, like what happens when Elon Musk's reputation starts to fade? I talked about this before. I was in Austin last year. When the whole Megillah over Cybercab was heating up, right? And Elon Musk was talking about how Cybercab was going to take over the world and blah blah blah. And what I can say, when I was in Austin, motherfucker, I was tripping over Waymos. Like, it's like, Jesus Christ, there was a lot of, like, seriously, like, I'm not being melodramatic. Every fucking time you turned around, there was a Waymo. And like the Waymos were everywhere. The Waymos were in the city. The Waymos were in the park. The Waymos were at the Whole Foods. Anywhere you look, there was a Waymo. I do have to say, I have still not seen a Cybercab in the wild. Like even the Model Ys, I don't know, maybe they just don't put stickers on them or whatever else. I haven't actually seen one in the wild at all. And I think that's going to be one of the interesting things. Like when we look at SpaceX and the value of SpaceX, and we start to think this is more about narrative and stories than it is about technology. And we just see from a practical standpoint, Elon Musk is failing. Whenever I say this, oh my golly, the Elon Musk stands come out of the fucking woodwork. But he is. He is. Cybercab's a fucking joke. Optimus is a fucking joke. Putting AI data centers in space. Well, we're going to see how that works. I think it's going to be a bit of a joke. And like what happens to his little empire when the narrative shifts? What happens to his empire when people start focusing on the fact that Roadster hasn't shipped, that we're not seeing the Tesla semis, that all these other companies seem to be taking off for autonomous vehicles, and God knows what's happening with Tesla right now. What happens with that particular story? I don't know. That's what I'm pondering. So yeah. Anyways, if I sound croupy, I am croupy. I'm in Las Vegas. It's fucking hot. It's hot. It's dry. It's like 90 degrees at 6 o'clock in the morning. I went out walking last night. It was like 112 degrees at 7 o'clock at night. Oh, Anyways, so I'm here for AI4. Got a couple interviews today. At least 2 interviews, maybe 3 interviews today here at AI4. Plus, going to be doing some more stuff. It is interesting. Again, coming to these conferences, when you look at the value proposition of these conferences, again, it's a whole question. Is it worth it? So if you have to buy a normal ticket for AI4, it's like $3,000. That's expensive. For me, I get a media pass. Yay, media pass. So I don't have to pay for pass in. I do have to pay for travel and all that kind of stuff, though. So that's real money. But I think the value for me being here is again, you can actually listen to real people talk about what they're actually doing with AI and what their actual concerns are. And what the cool part for me is what I like about AI4. Well, I'll tell you about this with AI4, which I'm surprised about, is I thought this was going to be a tech bro heavy environment. I thought I was just going to be fucking up to my eyeballs in tech bro. I girded my loins. I just thought this was going to be Austin 2.0. Austin's a shit show when it comes to tech bros. Anyways, I really did. And what's cool here is actually everybody's quite lovely. They're quite lovely. It's almost like Research Triangle. It's like, wow, these are some nice people. But what's curious is you get to talk to a lot. You just get to have conversations. A lot of conversations here. And again, when you just really start talking with people, you know, again, like what comes out from normal people looking at artificial intelligence is it's amazing how many people have no idea what the value proposition is. It's just amazing to talk to these people, as they're so, again, these are not 18-year-old, they're like, look, my CEO is giving me a budget to deploy this shit. I just don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do with it. It's amazing how many people don't know what the value of artificial intelligence actually is. And then also the expense. Like, they are given a budget for artificial intelligence. Doesn't mean they're given all the money in the world. And so I did a video, I think, talking about that earlier, talking about orchestration. You're hearing a lot about orchestration. You're hearing a lot about lowest cost model that is appropriate for responding to particular requests. And that's the kind of cool thing with coming to something like this. Is that worth, I don't know, the money some of these attendees paid? Who knows? Some based off of perspective. But I have been finding it interesting. Anyways, I need to go to Starbucks and get some coffee, because it is Las Vegas. They don't give you coffee pots in the room. If they gave you coffee pots in the room, then you wouldn't go and spend $6 fucking for a black coffee at Starbucks. That's not a joke. Anyways, leave your comments down below if you like these episodes. Do remember they're on Spotify and on Apple Podcast. Link is down below. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn, there's a link down there too. And with that, see y'all later.